change pace here and go to Tel Aviv, to Hostages Square, where we have our correspondent Noga Tarnopolsky, who joins us. Noga, I believe you're with a family there. What is going on where you are?
I don't know, I'm sorry, I wish I was with a family member, but I'm in the middle of a crush of probably some 200,000 people, and I haven't been able to connect to the individuals I hope to connect to. And as you know, the communications here stuff, but what's happening here right now is a sort of catharsis. You probably can hear it behind me. The moment that the Israel Defense Forces announced that all of the hostages had been released, all of the living hostages expected to be released this morning were out, which happened in 2 phases and not in 3 as was expected. A huge roar went over this crowd, and something in, I would say, the tension that had still hung over people simply evaporated. But the reason you hear very muted music behind me and not joyful dances, let's say, is because all of the thousands of people here are well aware that later this afternoon, Hamas will begin transferring the remains of those hostages who did not survive captivity, and there's a lot of sensitivity for their families. Even speaking to those family members of the hostages who are dead, I have to tell you, their pain seems to be more acute now than during recent weeks when they have still had this struggle to focus on. It's as if the magnitude of their loss has just become completely clear to them. But what our next step that we should expect right now is a dual step. On the one hand, we're going to have Donald Trump speaking at the Knesset, and simultaneously we will see in the West Bank and on the Gaza border the release of Palestinian prisoners and detainees. I think there will then be a break before we begin to see coffins crossing the border later today. I just want to mention one anecdote from today, which was just remarkable. Donald Trump's plane overflew Tel Aviv and landed at Ben Gurion Airport, literally like a TV ending, at the very instant that the Israeli authorities announced that all of the hostages were in their hands. And again, this underscores the feelings of disappointment and anger Israelis feel towards their government, that they are persuaded could have gotten this deal much earlier, more than a year earlier, and their gratitude to Donald Trump for, again, as is perceived here, for having forced it on Netanyahu. And we saw a little hint of that just now when he arrived at the Knesset. The words he said to journalists, the pool journalists who were waiting there, was, "The war's over, the war's over." 3 times he said this. Whereas, we should add, just in a statement Netanyahu released just yesterday, a video statement, what he told Israelis, and I'm quoting, was, "The war is not over." So we can already see the beginnings of interest between these 2 men that are not congruent and that at some point are very likely to clash, even if that clash happens behind closed doors.
And Noga, what do we know about the hostages who have been released now, their physical condition and their whereabouts? Noga, if you can hear me,
Could you please repeat your question?
Sure. I asked what we know about the physical condition of those hostages that have been released and their whereabouts.
Yes, what we know about their physical condition right now is very positive, but also very superficial. We know that all of the 20 hostages released were able to walk on their own 2 feet between the Red Cross vehicles and the Israeli army vehicles. That is something that was absolutely not certain ahead of today, so that was greeted with great relief. We have not heard any actual medical reports beyond that. The hostages are right now still at the Re'im army base, the very border between Gaza and Israel. And in fact, the soldier who was released today, Tamir Nimrodi, was taken hostage from that base. They are both meeting their closest family, their parents or their wives, as the case may be, and they're being examined, as you just said, by physicians. This is going to be the first real medical examination beyond just observing them. In the past, this interlude at the rain base could take even a few hours. Even in terms of their emotional adjustment, it appears to be beneficial to the hostages to just wait a moment, to remain with their closest family, and only after a few hours they get in helicopters, and then they're going to be taken right near here to Tel Shomer Hospital in Tel Aviv. We know one thing, which is that the brothers Gili and Zivi Berman, who were both taken from their homes, separately from their homes on October 7th, 2023, and it turns out didn't know that each other was a hostage. And one of the images we've already gotten is of the two of them embracing on what looked like a tarmac at the south of the country. They have requested that their helicopter overfly the Bloomfield Stadium, the stadium of their Tel Aviv football team, on the way to the hospital.
All right, Noga, thank you very much for that update.